Hi everyone. So I'm just popping in randomly. I posted in the private Facebook group and let you all know if you were around and you wanted to pop in for a live weekly tarot reading that I would hop on. The unicorn community is like kind of excited to do some weekly stuff, and I just wanted to be able to get it started and put it out there for you. This is my filming week overall for unicornwellness.studio for the membership site. So I thought, you know what? We got lights out. Let's just try it anyhow. So the weekly reading, here we go, will be for February 11th through the 17th. What else? We've had some issues on YouTube Live with the audio. I'm still working on it on my laptop, and today I'm just running on my phone because it was quicker and easier, and I wanted you all to have this information, okay? So for our weekly readings, we're gonna use the 5 card layout. I'll show them to you one at a time as I go, just like I do in our private readings and our personal readings. And if you're here, say hi in the comments. I haven't done a YouTube live on my phone before, so we'll see how this rolls. And what else? I'm going to take a photograph afterwards. I do in our private readings. I will post it on Instagram for the week. So I'm looking for this to be a weekly thing for you all. For subscribing members at unicornwellness.studio, you all have your monthly general tarot reading. You all get a new moon and a full moon tarot reading at that time. And then you all book individually with me for personal readings. I feel like a day-to-day, since members of the site are working on their own day-to-day tarot practice, that a daily reading is kind of overkill for us. Yay! Hi, Shauna. I'm glad you made it. So I wanted to give an overview for the week. I find that Pisces season, which we are approaching, is always super feely, and the unicorns need a little extra support through that time. So I felt like introducing these weekly readings now could do that. Again, this is not for overkill. This is because it has been requested multiple times, and I want to give you all what you want. Let's see how it goes. There we go. Okay. When things start falling out, that's when we know we're ready over here. I'm using the Wild Unknown Tarot for this week's reading. Again, I'll talk you through it 1 card at a time. I'll hold up the cards, and then I will take a photograph afterwards and post it on Instagram at some point today to refer back to in the week, okay? Or in perpetuity, you can always scroll, right? I also want to pull a spirit in which to move through the week. I feel like that's always so very useful. These are all pieces from the personal readings that I do, and how readings with me go. And then I also thought I would pull an oracle card from the goddess deck this week. The goddess to be anchoring into, to be calling upon for support and protection and inspiration this week. It looks to be a beautiful week. Okay, last week was a little rough. Astrologically, it was full of wonderful healings and blessings. So we're crawling out of that slowly, right? So it's kind of like all the emotional, all the emo. Meanwhile, we're headed into like out of Aquarius, which is really cerebral, very analytical, very thoughtful energy. But it's also highly connected, right? It's alien. It's a lot of downloads. It's a lot of information. It's a lot of clarity and a lot of ahas. So it's highly resonant, right? It's still up in the 6th and 7th chakra. And then we're headed into Pisces season, which is the end of the chart, endings, right? It is the oracle. It is the she's the most psychic of the wheel of astrology. So like we're headed into Pisces out of Aquarius. I just feel like this is all of the psychic downloads, all of the spiritual ahas, a lot of pieces either coming together or falling apart so they can come together better for you. And so I wanted to do these weeklies as a like support system for you all that didn't crowd out our conversation on Tangent Tuesday. So there we go. All right, energy of right now. So this is the beginning energy of the week, kind of the theme of the week, and really today. I also look at these 5-card spreads as kind of moving from the beginning of the weekend to the end of the week because we have the outcome here. So the energy that we're really like based in this week is 5 of Pentacles. 5 of Pentacles, man, okay, Pentacles being the earth element. This is financials. It always has to do with abundance. So it's health and joy and love, because they're all very similar things, right? They circulate, and the tangible essence of them. Five of Pentacles, five is the number of change, right? And in this deck, it shows this kind of sad, droopy rose, and you're like, oh, this sad rose. There is this feeling of being left out in the cold in Five of Pentacles, of like things are happening for people, things seem really exciting and transitory, and like they've alchemized, and there's a lot of manifestations for other people, and I'm just over here kind of sad, and like my flower has bloomed and now I'm losing my petals. So the energy of this week really speaks to transition and change, closure of chapters. Again, we just came off of this healing week last week, right? And so that is a chapter closing. Anytime you're healing, you're going through some sort of catharsis, some transition, and some change. And it's usually uncomfortable, and it always is an ending, right? There's an ending and then a new beginning. So healing straddles these like finishing up energies into fresh start, new beginnings. So, Five of Pentacles, some of the classic readings that like you can really resonate with is that there's no new beginning without an ending, number one. Yeah, you guys are totally snowed in on that side. I know. So it's like, this is that feeling that you cannot begin something new until you end something. So like the rose, right, where you get all sad when the rose starts to die because it's not blooming anymore. It's actually very exciting because it becomes compost, and it nurtures the new things that will blossom and that will come. So there's a lot of faith in the future here of like, just hang in there. We're still going through transition. We're still healing. It's not springtime yet. So this is not fresh starts and new beginnings just yet. Hang in there. It's also always a call to really anchor in your spiritual practices, because you can feel left out in the cold when you get too stuck in the mundane 3D incarnation. So again, this transition of all this Pisces energy, right, that we've been dealing with Chiron, with the last degrees of Pisces headed into Aries, there's just a lot of the psychic other planes energy that needs to be let in right now, and we need to process it. So it's always a call to anchor into meditation and into your spiritual practices, not that it only has to be a seated meditation. I teach movement for the most part, y'all, at unicornwellness.studio. So anchoring into a moving meditation to help sweep out the energies, to help connect and embody the 3D body and the divine physical spiritual plane. So we're looking at, the energy of this week of where is learning how to transition and kind of straddling these endings and beginnings, and it'll make us feel melancholy. Like this card, also resonates to the Five of Cups, of like, it's like that sad, a little bit depressed, and depressed energy, like meaning low energy, or kind of like barometric pressure, like things kind of pushing down, like pressure, but pressure creates diamonds. So there is a little bit of that heavy feeling. Moon's in Taurus today for like the next, I think, 72 hours almost. So it's like 3 days of this week. And that just makes us either want to snuggle and like lay around and do nothing, or we're just going to work to kind of push through some things. So take a moment and calibrate and go, what does it mean to me? How do I feel? Do I feel like just doing nothing, or do I feel like stuck? So if I do a little bit of something and then kind of push through low key this week, that it's going to help the transition and the integration of healing. So energy of this week is change. And really anchor into the spiritual practices, because there's so much energy that wants to be heard from our past lives, from alternate planes. We're really trying to push through to 5D. This is an ascension period of time. It's an ascension year, right? It's always an ascension time. But this is one of those compact moments, like what's calling to you in your dreams. Yeah, so I mean, Shauna, like I'm in the bulldozer stage 2 of pushing through. This week is filming week for me. So there's no way I can sit around and do nothing. I did a significant amount of nothing last week. So I honored the rest, but now it's like, just slow push. Like just keep, it's almost like a snowplow, right? You just got to go, I'm just going to move it. I'm not really building. I'm just going to keep things moving along. So meditation, movement on the mat for certain. again, like consistent movement, a tiny bit of pushing through. This isn't so much about like gigantic willpower. Just think of a snowplow. This is just slowly, carefully clearing the path so things don't ice over and get dangerous, kind of. Without getting too into a separate conversation, Mercury retrograde is on the horizon. That shadow period is like sneaking in there. I don't think we've hit it yet. I think we've got another week. But then that will slow things down purposefully for reevaluation and rethought and rethinking. And so, again, we get caught in thinking that January is fresh starts and new beginnings because it's the new year by the Gregorian calendar, but it's not. This is like, it's change. There's new energy brewing for sure, but we're all kind of sitting here as the unicorn community going, I hear lots of change. And I'm going to make constructive steps towards it. But it's not really time for anything big yet. And even the opportunities and blessings that are coming in, it's not time yet. We can look to the spring equinox, March 20th, I think it is this year, and into Aries season. So we're on the cusp, but it's about change and really honoring the endings so that the new beginnings can come. But we need to anchor into our spiritual practices big time to move us through this. Okay, next steps for this week, meaning like how things, we have next steps and then we have big steps, how things are going to shift and transition this week. I went through all of that and went like, ain't nothing coming through just yet. And then we got this card. So I opened my mouth a little too soon. 10 of Cups. Okay, so 10 of Cups is happy endings. Like this is, I love it in this deck too, in the Wild Unknown, because 10 is fresh starts and new beginnings. And in this deck, it looks like theater, like Parcan lighting, where like the lights are just like, they've all got a different gel color in them and they're just bouncing one off of another. So there's a lot of energy internally and a lot of energy in the cosmos, in the astrology. And I really feel like we're just feeling like the next step in this week is feeling the fresh starts and new beginnings, feeling happy endings and manifestations on the horizon. And that feeling of it kind of bouncing around in us is enough to keep us motivated right now. And doing the diligent like snowplow work this week of like, I need to produce about 14 videos this week. I can do it. I'm just going to do it. I'm going to go slow and I'm going to do like I always do, right? And if you have this little to-do list that you've put together, then it's just time to make a little bit of phone calls, a couple outreach emails, maybe connect with somebody about a coffee that you were supposed to connect with before. It's slow and diligent work that leads toward the greater blessings. But there is this feeling of like, I keep hearing effervescence. And this kind of bouncy energy, let other people's useful, productive energy bounce off of you and let you bounce off of them. Make sure that you're a reflection. I also hear inner circles. So holding your inner circle really tight and your spiritual inner circle, because we know that that's where the real work and where the real magic is that our communities that hold spiritual like effervescence for us, that stay in the circle this week. That's kind of, that you want to bounce off of each other in constructive ways. Stay out of the negative, those energies that drag you down, places and spaces that drag you down. Facebook is where our private community is, but so many of our members go. I don't even do the rest of Facebook. I come into our private community group and I check in here and then I go because the rest is too negative. This is really a time as we're transitioning into healing to really push out some negative. It's like too much. I can't deal with them today. If it's family members, if it's work stuff, just keep your head down, keep moving the snowplow. And then really connect this week with the people who are keeping you in the high vibe tribe and keeping you lifted, and have a perspective of not holly go lightly, like you don't have to do the hard work, but like in the positive aspect of where you were on the path and how transition and change and healing happen. Okay. Big shifts for the week, right? So this is like how things are really going to transition for the better this week, or here's like the key to this week as it turns the tide. So here we go. Like, you're in healing, you're in transition. Make sure to anchor into meditation and the movement on unicornwellness.studio. And I say that, yes, because what I do, but it's also very thoughtful movement that's crafted as a moving meditation that's there to heal and to work with the lunar and the general astrology energies right now. It's not just a regular workout. It's a healing session. It's infused with Reiki from me to you for this week in particular. So then we move through this good feeling energy. Things are popping in. What are you guys saying? Okay. Oh, hey, Lacey. Okay, so the energy of this week is to stay in the high vibe tribe this week. Don't get distracted by negative stuff because it's just not going to serve. And there is fresh starts on the horizon. There are new energies brewing. We're just not quite there yet. So it's like it's that little plant, right? Like the seed popped open, but you got to be real tender with it so that it makes it through the soil to the top. Big waves of shifts this week are really going to come to fruition for you this week in particular. The Hermit. I mean, come on. So one, that's just a call to meditation in whatever forms it calls to you. If stream of consciousness writing is your meditation, if spell casting is your meditation, but there's got to be a crafting out of time for yourself to connect with spirit. If you have Aries in the 9th house, if you know that, movement is the big way to do it, right? Because that's how you connect to yourself on the inside, and therefore that's how you connect to spirit, because we're not separate. But this is always the call to hermiting yourself away, right? And listening, and what does the universe have to offer you? There's a reminder here big time for you all that meditation is not particularly where you will get your downloads and your messaging, your signs, symbols, and omens that allow to lead you on the path, okay? Meditation clears the space and allows for those messages to come in when they're ready and you're receptive. So it's like, yes, I always say it's like picking up the phone and keeping the lines clear, but that doesn't always mean that the universe is ready to speak in the time that it's prepping for awareness. So meditation is not the pill you pop or the aspirin that you pop for that 20 minutes that then you get that message in 20 minutes. It's about calibrating your resonance. It's about lifting the vibration. It's about telling your guides, guardian angels, your higher self, God, goddesses, who you connect with, I am open to these messages. And I am proving myself as a good, consistent steward to receiving message anytime that is appropriate for me to connect those pieces. So this week, 9 is about karmic closures also. Again, closures and endings. And healing takes time. And if you're sick or if you're injured, you go to bed, right? You kind of go quiet. You don't go busying yourself out in the world too much. So this is a week to still kind of pull the reins in of how much engagement you have with others, really anchor into yourself and your spiritual practices. And I always say that clarity will come if you make clarity welcome. You got to throw out the welcome mat. So in my mind, you know, and what I teach as a teacher and what I see is that when you're in meditation consistently, when you're on the mat consistently, when you're in the tarot consistently, this way with me privately or on your own, that you are making clarity welcome. You're sweeping off the front porch, you laid out the mat, you've got little treats and hot tea waiting, you know, and you just go, okay, I'm just gonna waiting for my clarity, you know. And sometimes that waiting is longer than we like, but this week is a time to really clear out, connect with spirit, and you know, to prepare for some messaging. Here is the assets of the week. I love this. 10 of Swords. Now, for those of you who are unicorns and in the private Unicorn Wellness Facebook group, I want you to like, whoop, whoop, look at this one. There's been a lot of this card being pulled lately. It is one of my favorite cards, and I've definitely gone through periods of my life where it just comes up all the time, and you're like, okay, this one again? Okay. 10 of Swords. So swords are about your intellect, your acumen, your thought process. On the surface level, it's your cognitive programming, right? Like how you think, how you talk about things. But for unicorns, we're going to go that step deeper and know that it's about our subconscious programming, because the subconscious programming, like it or not, is always the one driving the ship. We touched on it last week in our lives on Instagram. We're probably going to touch on it again tomorrow in the Tangent Tuesday. It'll be mirrored here on YouTube, hopefully, as well. That 10 of Swords is about killing, one, all the bullshit. Like, you got to call yourself out. Where are you being immature and irresponsible? Where are you hanging on to your victimhood? Because victimhood don't do nobody any good. Like, it just doesn't. It weakens you. It lowers your frequency. It does not inspire healing. It doesn't allow healing. It is a block. There is a time to go, fuck, that hurt. and really experience and mourn and grieve whatever the wound is. But when you get into how the world is always against you and how it's always been that way and how there's no way to climb out, you have automatically disempowered yourself. There are bad things in the world. There are negative people in the world. Don't allow victimhood to allow you to become one of those negative people with the shroud of it being a light bearer. So this is kind of a confusing one. Like there can be, you could be on your active, self-evolution and say that you're a light bearer and be doing all of these practices, but the way you're communicating and thinking and that subconscious programming is still stuck in victimhood, then it cancels it out and it's actually false. Like rather than fighting for the side of the light, you're standing in the dark. And not only are you standing in the dark, you're perpetuating it. So there's a fine line of healing here, but this card today, so it's a big card. Like it's a transition card. That is definitely the card of the universe calling you out, going, there's something that you have to tackle and harness and release here and clean up and grow past. This isn't somebody else's work. This is your work. But it's in the assets category, which means you've done that. So that you really took a hard look at some stuff and like your bad habits and your shadows and where the conscious, programming is super negative and that's creating spell work in the world. It's like imploding things. And it's saying that in turn, the subconscious programming has lightened its load and done some healing, and you've really released this victimhood. So there's no more beautiful card. I mean, we have change, we have fresh starts and new beginnings, we have karmic closures, another fresh starts and new beginnings. And this means you're starting from a fresh set point in your mind and in your subconscious. So again, this just denotes healing has occurred, or it's still occurring right now. So lay a little low in your hermitude and stay connected to the things that keep you feeling positive and shining and as a collective. That's a great card. It's also always a sign of toxic masculinity, like this bull, like pushing through things, and hello, Taurus. Because sometimes Tauruses can be real assholes. I'm a Taurus sun. So that pushiness, that stubbornness, you're letting go of it. And I'm hearing this in private messages from our community of like, I was like in full resistance of this like last year or a few weeks ago. And then today it just felt like it was fine. I don't know that I need to do it, but that choice is like, it's okay now. We're releasing old paradigms, false paradigms, programming that doesn't serve our highest and greatest good. So then that changes our perspective on things and how we show up in the world. Outcome of the week. It's just a beautiful card. Daughter of Pentacles. So here we go. We start with Pentacles, right? Needing a little time of healing and change and going, oh, things may seem a little sad and dying, but knowing that means fresh starts and new beginnings, trusting in the surrender of our highest and greatest good, that the universe has our back. Cycles are the name of the game. Some are low, some are high. And we're getting ready to move into a high cycle. So the end of this week says, Daughter of Pentacles, which always puts us as a student of opportunities and a student of abundance and a student of finance and joy and health. So deers, like they're graceful and a lot of their symbolism is about like getting out of things gracefully, like hopping across the brambles, right? They're not a threat to anybody, right? So there's this ease at the end of the week and kind of the lift. I get this like, I always, I feel it's like a little wind in our sails, a little uplifting. And you kind of think about how, doe move and how they run. They're prancy, they're light on their feet, and they can get out of things very easily, little stacks and brambles. So at the end of this week, we've, it appears to have made the transition out of this victimhood and like immature pieces and cognitive programming that's just false and not serving us. We spent a lot of time in meditation and alone and a balance with our community that bolsters us. So we're allowing healing to occur by working the balance of our 3D incarnation and our divine spirit. You can't just head off into one or into the other. You've always got to keep kind of calibrating and going, where's the balance for me right now? This Pisces energy, like Aquarius tends to be it's airy, right? And so it's not very grounded. So Aquarius needs grounding. It needs the mat work. It needs root vegetables. It needs contact with the earth. And then we're heading into and still dealing with some Pisces energy. That's the fish and water. That's the ocean. Pisces has to learn boundaries, right? Because Pisces has to learn that we're in the ocean. We're not the ocean. So at the end of this week, you're starting to go, oh, if I put a little boundary up here, cool, that serves me better. If I do a little more grounding over here, great. Then things make more sense and I get more messaging and more clarity. It's not about completely being a hermit. It's about taking the balance of hermit versus engagement. Okay? But the Daughter of Pentacles is so lovely and sweet and earnest and grounded, you know, in the dirt, in the woods with Mama Nature. So that's a wonderful, it feels a little heavy at the beginning of this week, but it definitely lightens up at the end. Spirit in which to move through this week. I mean, these are so beautiful. Manifest. I'll try to take it out of the glare. And this one's funny because sometimes when this one comes out, you're like, great, but that's what I'm working on is manifestation. So I just keep working it. Yeah, this card for the unicorns, when it comes out in a reading with me, is really about working your inner circle, working your spiritual circle, and working your spell casting, right? Because as a witch, and witches work, lesson 4 is coming this week. I actually can promise that this time. Witch's work is really typically you know, cast a circle, right, to begin your ritual. And so manifestation, and when we talk about being a witch and spell work, it's intention plus ritual. So this week is powerful for intention plus ritual. You would like to see some manifestation from the work you're doing this week. Right, and so again with this like consistent pushing through of like the snowplow energy and this Taurus moon for these, you know, about 72 hours, that manifestation, like keep your eye on the manifestation, but remember what we've learned in witches work and as a unicorn wellness community, that manifestation requires healing. Because if you don't get the subconscious frequency right, you can't attract like, okay? And we talked about that last week. It's going to keep coming up because it's just going to be like what we do on Unicorn Wellness, right? Then you're going to need to get your intention clear and match it with a ritual, which is what a spell is. You write it out. Hi, Jennifer. You write it out, then you decide what ritual you want to work with, right? As candles or crystals or, you know, letter writing or writing out your spell and then burning it in a fire safe space. The rituals that we went through and the spell crafting is really connected to candle work in witches work. So if you haven't watched that session, that course of mine, it's here on the YouTube channel. Just go start watching it. I think lesson 2 is like where the goods of spell casting are. This week says to move through this week in manifestation. And you go, great. I want to see things come to fruition. Okay, but how do we get to things coming to fruition? Healing, intention setting, added to the ritual to give it some oomph. Lesson 4 is coming out. We're going to add a little bit. It's all about manifestation, what it is, what it isn't, additional ways to focus and reframe it, and how to, you know, go deeper into it. So again, this week is like, go listen to lesson 2 of Witch's Work, anchor into lesson 4. It'll probably be out on Friday. But that keep your eye on the prize of what you want to manifest. And then how do we manifest? Healing to change frequency and resonance, so law of attraction is on par. Intention setting plus ritual. And then we've got some more ritual pieces to add to that Friday with lesson 4. Okay, and the goddess to anchor into this week, I love her, Cordelia. Go outside. You've been indoors too long, go outside and get some fresh air. I know that there are unicorns who need this one. All of my Seattleites, you guys have had so much snow. I'm kind of dying. We're living in like Freaky Friday. Like we got sunshine in Brooklyn and you guys have all this snow. For my Canadian members, you guys have been kind of trapped inside. Like, so if you really can't get out, right, this is about grounding. So we've got this Mother Nature aspect, and we started with a rose that needs to turn into compost. It needs to have a connection to the ground and the earth. So we all need to get outside this week, even if it's just opening a window in your house, right? That's a classic feng shui of clearing energy, like get some air moving. Aquarius is air energy. It's the element of air. So even a little brisk walk, a little more outside. I try to take a little walk around the block at the very least after I drop my kid at school in the morning so that I've been outside and kind of get that movement and motion happening. Other ways to, because I just hear air. I know she's got seashells in this one, but she's, elements of fairies and earth and air. I mean, again, we're dealing with healing energy of Pisces in so many ways, and we're headed into more Pisces, and then we're going to have a retrograde in Pisces. So this water energy is cleansing. It's offering so much healing, but we've got to navigate it well, or it just becomes all emo and floods. Like we just feel overwhelmed or like really mucky in our energy and can't get anywhere. So the goal is like to listen to the cosmos, anchor in the readings, but understand how to navigate it. It's not always time to charge ahead, but it's not always time to just sit and receive. I feel like last week was very much a rest, receive, try not to do much, like do the least amount possible energetically. This week, it's calling us to just move slowly, little snowplow, just push along gradually. Like, don't totally throw your hands off of things, but don't go barreling ahead with Aries energy because we're just not there yet. So ways to, work with that is feeling productive in your movement on the mat, anchored, right, getting grounded. Feeling productive in meditation, allowing energies to clear out and new messaging to come in and new energies to integrate into the physical body and in the emotional and energetic body. Stick with your manifestation stuff. If there is a spell that you've been waiting to cast, I think this is the week to do it. And then go outside. If you're feeling kind of muck, stuck, down, very least open a window. Really. Just get some air going or go take a little. I mean, we're in New York and Brooklyn. It's still really cold and really windy. So bundle yourself up. Go take a few minutes. It doesn't have to be forever. It doesn't need to be epic. You just got to get outside and get things stirring around. Okay. That is your message for the week. Since we are live, if you all have comments, questions, quickly, we can do it. This will stay up in perpetuity. I am hoping and planning to have a weekly tarot reading for you from here on out. I think it'll be a mix of live and pre-recorded depending on my schedule. So I will try to do them as live as often as possible. But some I'll probably do a day ahead of time, right? I have a little bit of travel coming up in March. So thank you all for joining me, spur of the moment today. And again, I'll get a photograph of this up over on Instagram so that you could see the full layout, because for us visual learners, and with lesson 3 of Witch's work, that, the pictures of things are so soothing and ignite oxytocin. So I feel that it's always important for you all to see the layout of the tarot as well in a quiet space, which is why I always send you all a photograph of it after your personal readings. So if you love these live readings or the readings when I pre-record them, make sure to subscribe to this channel. If you click the little bell on the channel as well, you'll get the alerts of when I go live. I try to keep to a schedule. It's not always possible. So that way at least you're alerted when I'm live and you go, yeah, I can hop in or not. If you want to book a private reading with me, please do so. Just go over to tandygutierrez.com. All the options are there. You book it online. And if you're interested, if you're not currently a member of Unicorn Wellness Studio and interested in the Reiki healing by proxy, in the movements that are written in attune to the current lunar and current overall astrology, it's balancing a body on the physical, mental, emotional, and energetic plane. Pretty cool. So I'll have a link in the description with a promo code there. You could try that for 30 days for free. It's really zero commitment. You can cancel at any time. I hope you stick around. If you do, day 31, you do get charged. It's $32 a month. But as a member, you're getting a new workout every 3 days. Cycles written for the astrology and the lunar cycles every 4 weeks. You also have your monthly tarot reading. There's an overview for the month as a general reading. a new moon and a full moon general tarot reading. So again, I'm offering these weekly ones for those who want the layer, not to add more to the puzzle, but actually to make it clearer how to navigate at each step on the path. Okay? All right, I don't see any questions or any major comments here. I love you all so very much. Thank you for allowing me to be here to do this reading for you, and I will see you next time.